Hello, I thought it would be time for another COVID related update for the Prince of Peace people. A few things to talk about here. Still no, it's what, April 28th. So, still no word from the government about when we'll be looking for groups of 50, which is probably when we'll start having church again, regardless of whether church is mentioned, unless they're explicitly denying church. But we'll probably find something out. And so PPC is going to talk about this and have some going forward and reopening kind of plans. But in other states, it's looking like that are keeping the 50, it's looking like two services will be kind of how we roll for the short term. Two other things. I just tried to film stuff at church, and if you're wondering, it didn't go well on a variety of fronts. Acoustically, church is a terrible place to record things because about once every 90 seconds, a motorcycle decides to really just gun it at 249th and just right up Grace. I don't know if there's some sort of special motorcycle law that says you have to do that, but it's impressive. Additionally, all the office sounds that normally come around with a church, even with nobody there, just made it through into the video that I was trying to make. Secondly, my video abandoned itself and wouldn't upload. And so there's, in the midst of a shorter devotion, which usually takes 20 minutes, and here we are at 2.5 hours, and I finally just canceled it and told it to just forget itself. So that leads kind of into the next question of how much content or what content are you liking. From my perspective, and you guys don't know this because I haven't talked about it at all, devotions take me about 15 to 20 minutes to make and record, and then about half an hour to upload. And it's usually pretty painless. And if the internet behaves at church, which it wasn't today, which is actually pretty common if you didn't know, and I'll get to that here in a little bit, that wouldn't be bad to just wander into the office. But again, a lot of the viewership is wanting that, or is finding it easiest if that's up on the interwebs before 9. So just something to think about. Those aren't bad for me, and they're not something where it would be like a ton of extra work once we get into the normal swing of things for me to just keep doing, provided the internet at church doesn't die. Podcasts, actually, now that I know what I'm doing and I have some gear coming in the mail, it keeps assuring me it's coming in the mail. Podcasts aren't actually that bad to put together either. I think I got done with my podcast in about an hour and a half. That's excluding research time, but I would normally separate that out anyway. And so then my computer took, and this is my bad laptop that we got with Pastor Ray, so not the best computer on earth. But this computer took 2 hours to render that, and then it has an hour and a half upload so that our production wizard, Ryan, go ahead and wave, Ryan, and again, you get to roll an extra D7 for the arcaneness of getting to be a wizard and have a D7. For those of you who are gamers, you'll love that. And those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, don't worry. But I'm waiting for it to come back from Ryan, which is absolutely fine. Take your time, Ryan. But, most of that time is production stuff and uploading and downloading. But then that comes back, and that will take, if you're wondering, about an hour to an hour and a half to upload to YouTube. And that means that I can't have any internet interruption. Church services are awesome. If you like the way we did it last week with the PowerPoint, I think I'm going to that. It's a little easier for me to do it, but it does take more time. But having you folks see the liturgy is super important, and it's something that I realized I can do, and we're learning how to do all this. So there's some other things that we need to talk about in PPC in terms of expense with how we're doing this, in terms of licensing and rights to use material and those kinds of things. Here's my take. The COVID thing gave us a entryway and a necessary on-ramp into the information superhighway that is the YouTubes. And as I've looked at the analytics of our videos, a lot of things have actually uploaded and have been circulating around, and not just from my mom, although hi mom, or my mother-in-law, hello, but People from all over are catching little snippets, and you members, so thank you for those of you who do this, forward the link on to a friend, and or say, oh, that one was really good, Pastor Dave hits about 1 in 30, that I transfer over, which is great because there's lots of you, and so that means most Sundays I'm not missing. But sometimes, some of those things are really good. So that part has been great. And I'd like to keep up some of the digital online content just because it's a great way to reach out. It's a great way to get our church out there. And I'm hoping that when we come back, that we have some visitors that result from our digital efforts and how we've done things. And I'm trusting all of you to be hospitable and welcoming to whoever shows up once we get here into the meeting in person kind of time. With that said, our internet situation at church is sort of keeping us in a certain position. We really don't have any other options other than the carrier, and if you live in Yakult or Amboy or Yale or wherever it is that you happen to live between, basically good internet is south of 249th and north of the north side of the street of 249th, as I understand it, is not. Which is where we are. Hooray! If you're wondering why we don't do like Zoom service or why we're not doing some of those things, it's mostly because of the internet that we have. Some of it is the steep technological hill that people are going to be climbing, and I don't want to spend all of our worship time letting people into a Zoom meeting or trying to coach members on how to get into the Zoom meeting, or telling that one particular member, and you know who you are, to stop changing backgrounds every 30 seconds. We all can see that, man. And you people with that conversation on the side, wait till I'm done with my sermon during the offering. But some of the things that we're doing and some of my normal patterns here are a result of just not having good internet at church. So we have, if you're wondering, we have about 80% of the time we have download, meaning we can go and use the internet for what we usually use the internet. And so that's about 80% of the time. There's about one day every week and a half where we just have spotty internet for no rhyme or reason, and nothing fixes it. Nothing, it just, that's how life is. In terms of our upload speeds, at least the last I checked, were around 1999 dial-up modem upload speed. As we talk about what we want to do on the digital side of the coronavirus thing, be thinking about what we want to do forward, what you've liked, what you'd like to see more of. Some of those things we'll be able to do, and some of those things, much like the proverbial kneelers at church, I know there's a few people who really want them and the rest of us really don't. It's just going to have to kind of wait, or we're just going to say, that's nice, we're not going to do that, or we can't do that. One other thing that's kind of trickling along on my radar in regard to all of this is that the federal and especially the state governments are suggesting that we will, of course, see COVID again in September. It's not going to go away. We're going to have this forever and ever. Which is not what anybody wants to hear. I'll believe seasonality when I see it. Of course, nobody can tell the future. It'd be dumb not to brace for seasonality when it's something that could happen. But what I'm working up to, and what I want you to think about too, is if we get back in the building, say Mother's Day, we have a great run over the summer, we get into the fall, and then the state decides it sees one, and I'm convinced it'll just be one COVID case, and we will be right back into self-isolation here and stay-at-home orders. But what that would probably look like at this time, I'm anticipating that they might start it like the second week of November and roll 6 to 9 weeks from the second week of November. And if you start counting, that means we lose Thanksgiving, we lose all of Advent, we lose Christmas, and depending on Lent, which we just got done with Easter, please don't bring up Lent, but depending on when Lent hits, we might be touching or right into Ash Wednesday, depending on things. So this is not to scare you or upset you. This is to say, hey, we might have the summer to strategize and plan, and what do we want to do, and what kind of things can we put in place so that if we do end up in this spot again, we're just ready to go and we're ready to move forward. So those are the updates today. This has mostly been a technological update and kind of some sharing about what my routines have been, and as well as kind of the steep learning curve on a lot of different technologies and why we're doing some things and not others. So God's blessings to you. There should be more information rolling out here in the next week. We'll all cross our fingers and pray fervently to the Lord in regard to coming back and meeting, and have a wonderful day.